In 2017, during a cold winter evening in Bangladesh, something strange happened near a place called Munsif Ghat, beside the Brahmaputra River. During the day, the ghat was always busy. Boats moved constantly, fishermen worked with their nets, and people crossed the river every hour. But when night came, the place became completely silent. Locals believed something unnatural appeared there after midnight. People living near the ghat had a strange rule. No one stayed there after 12 at night, not even the boatmen. When outsiders asked why, the villagers only said one thing: the last boat comes at midnight. But the terrifying part was not the boat itself. The frightening truth was that no living person was ever seen inside that boat. The story became real for a young man named Rashid. Rashid was 26 years old and had come from Dhaka to visit his uncle in Mymensingh. He was a confident and logical person who never believed in ghosts or supernatural stories. For him, every ghost story was simply a village myth created by fear and imagination. One afternoon, Rashid asked his cousin Sajib to walk with him to the Brahmaputra River. Sajib agreed, but warned him seriously, "We must return before night." Rashid laughed and asked jokingly, "Why? Does a ghost live there?" Sajib stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said slowly, "I don't know about ghosts, but nobody stays at Munsif Ghat after midnight." While walking toward the river, Sajib told Rashid an old story that everyone in the village knew. About 12 years earlier, a passenger boat had sunk during a violent storm at night. 17 people were on the boat. The current of the river was too strong, and none of them survived the accident. The next morning, villagers found several bodies floating on the river. Families cried as they recognized their loved ones. But something strange happened. 2 bodies were never found. One was the boatman himself, and the other was his small daughter, who had been sitting beside him that night. After that accident, people began noticing something strange. On certain nights, especially when the river was covered with mist, villagers claimed they saw a boat slowly approaching the ghat around midnight. The boat looked exactly like the one that had sunk years ago. Sometimes fishermen who stayed too late on the river said they heard the sound of oars cutting through water. But when they looked carefully, the boat seemed empty. No boatmen, no passengers, just a silent boat moving through the fog as if someone invisible was guiding it. Rashid listened to the story and laughed loudly. "These are just superstitions," he said confidently. "Ghost boats don't exist." But the story made him curious. Instead of becoming afraid, he became interested. He decided that he wanted to see the place at midnight himself. That night, Rashid convinced Sajib to go with him to Munsif Ghat. Sajib was clearly afraid, but finally agreed. Around 11 at night, they quietly left the house and walked toward the river. Cold winter fog covered the road, and the entire area felt strangely quiet. When they reached the ghat, the place looked completely different from the daytime. The busy riverside was now empty and silent. No fishermen, No travelers. Only the soft sound of water touching the wooden steps of the ghat. Rashed sat on the edge of the steps and stared into the dark river. Sajib stood beside him nervously. Minutes passed in silence. Suddenly they both heard something from the middle of the river. Chop, chop, chop. It sounded exactly like the slow movement of boat oars cutting through water. Sajib grabbed Rashed's arm. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Rashed did not answer immediately. Through the thick fog covering the river, a dark shadow was slowly appearing. Something was moving toward the ghat. Slowly, the shape became clearer. It was a boat. The boat was drifting quietly toward the shore. But something about it felt wrong. There were no lanterns, no voices, no sound of a boatman guiding it. Within a few moments, the boat reached the ghat and gently touched the wooden steps. Rashed and Sajib stared at it in complete silence. The boat looked old and wet, as if it had been under water for years. Sajib whispered nervously, "Let's leave. Something is not right." But Rashed's curiosity was stronger than his fear. Slowly, he stepped closer to the boat and leaned forward to look inside. At first, he saw nothing but darkness. The inside of the boat looked empty. Then suddenly Rashed noticed something in the corner of the boat. A small figure was sitting there. It looked like a little girl. Her long hair was wet and hanging over her face. Her clothes looked soaked with river water. For a moment, she did not move. Then slowly, the girl lifted her head. Her pale face turned toward Rashed. Her eyes looked empty and cold. In a quiet voice, she spoke. "Please, take us home." Rashed felt his entire body freeze. Before he could say anything, something terrifying happened. From the dark water around the boat, several pale hands slowly rose from beneath the river, gripping the sides of the boat. It looked like people trapped under the water were trying to climb back into the boat. Sajib screamed loudly, "Rashed, run!" The two of them turned and ran as fast as they could away from the ghat. When they finally looked back, the boat was slowly drifting away into the fog again. But this time, it was not empty. Dark human shapes were standing inside it, silent and motionless. The next morning, they returned to the ghat in daylight. The river looked completely normal again. There was no boat, no footprints, nothing to show what they had seen the night before. They told an old boatman about the incident. The old man listened quietly and then sighed. "You are lucky," he said softly. Many people who see that boat never return. The old man then revealed the truth. The boat they saw was believed to be the same one that sank years ago, and the little girl was the daughter of the missing boatman. Even today, villagers say that when the fog covers Munsif Ghat at midnight, a silent boat sometimes returns from the dark river.